Hello everyone, Season 5 support tier list. Let's get started. Let's start off with Kiriko, and I absolutely would love to put her at the top of an S tier. She's insanely strong in defense and offense. She's insanely strong against all the meta tanks. She can be played in the brawl comps, she can be played in dive comps, she can be played in poke comps. She's really good as a flanker and as a distraction mechanism, and it feels like after watching a video by Awkward where he did Unranked to Gem, I realized that as a support you don't need to be a heal bot, you don't need to be a person that just stays behind the tank and just left clicks for heals. Instead you can go and choose a flanking route and try to tap the squishes with her kunais, and when I did that I was shocked and amazed how hard it is, but when you manage to find out the way to do it with ease, it is going to be super efficient, because when you are distracting two players you have a favorable situation. When you are killing one support and then quickly blinking to your tank, cleansing him and healing to the full, you are in a big advantage. Let's go for the next one. Next up we have Mercy, and I would put her in the B tier. In the Season 5, as the meta progresses, it feels like Mercy does not have a spot in the game at all, and in my personal opinion she needs a big rework to kind of find a way for her to be in the game, simply because I feel like the higher you are in terms of your skill level, the more utility you want to have on a support, as well as the faster pace you want your support to be. So if you compare Mercy with Kiriko, it's really obvious that you have certain possibilities and limitations when it comes to your healing range. So you cannot heal your teammates that are far away from you. There are limitations in your abilities to save your teammates, because you can heal beam them, but cleanse, oh my god, what an ability that is. You are pretty spooky in terms of your movement, and yes, Mercy is definitely a great choice when you have a DPS hit scan to pocket, but most of the time, if you are in medal ranks, this player is just not worth it. I highly advise you to just focus on your own progression, and just like ML7 said, support is not a healer. So make sure that you interpret that in a correct manner and go for the outplays, go for the complete domination, because support is a very fun role and you can absolutely carry games on it. Next support is going to be Zenyatta, and he is taking a comfortable top of the A spot. It feels like Zenyatta is exceptionally strong, and it is a horror to play against him when you are a tank or just a squishy character that really likes aggression. Yet, Zenyatta is really easily punishable by tracers, Zenyatta is really easily punishable by sombras, and pretty much any dive tank that can lay a hand on you without being unpunished is going to be a massive problem for you, as you have a pretty big hitbox for a support. It's not like you are a slim Kiriko, you are this big monk that's floating and meditating, and that may cause some problems. You have a really high DPS potential, you really have a high carry potential on Zenyatta, and it feels like there are just certain comps that are working like wonders for you. For example, a poke comp where you take Sigma, you take Baptiste, you take Zenyatta, and then you take something like Hanzo plus Cassidy, I would suspect, and there is nothing your opponents can do on longer sides of maps. Especially if they are going for a dive comp, they would just run into a massive ranged aggression, not going to be bearable for them, it feels like. So Zenyatta is a great choice of support. Make sure that you are not going for stuff like Zenyatta Mercy, make sure that you are not going for stuff like Zenyatta Lucio, simply because you will just lack healing, and it feels like you want to have a main support and then you want to have a flex support that can go and distract, that will not require so many resources and can be useful and self-sufficient as he is. Up next we have Lucio, and if you would ask me to rate this guy when we are talking about GM plus lobbies, Lucio goes in an absolute A tier. When it comes to medal ranks, I would say that Lucio is going to be even lower than Mercy. You really want to take him in a correct comp, as well as on a correct map, as well as play him in a correct manner. This is a very high skill ceiling character, and if you are not familiar, TLDR, you have like a few tanks that you can walk with, right? It's going to be Junker Queen. In the current meta, she is going to be the most popular. Then you have Reinhardt, and then probably Ramatra can be also really strong with you. So your goal is to just speed them up when you are engaging and disengaging, and maybe go for a heal or like 30% of the time, simply because with speed you can dodge a lot more damage incoming. You can also jump on the squishes and try to kill them if they have no escape route or support. They are isolated or just overly aggressive. Lucio is a really good choice in that regard, but in metal ranks, people have no idea how to play with him, and people have no idea how to play the Lucio itself. So I would say that you are going to be better off on even Mercy. It feels like, again, I absolutely love the character. I wish more people would play him, so the game would be dynamic, the game would be more fast-paced. It is super fun, but it is what it is. Next up, we have Brig, and I would put her at the top of the A tier. Feels like a lot of players are very underestimating the abilities of the character. They are saying that the health packs are not enough. They are saying that you need to always be at the person's head and constantly bash him with your mace to really have any value, but the character is so satisfying to play. And looking at her win rates for the past few seasons, she was standing at whopping 55% across all the ranks. If you compare that with Lifeweaver with 41%, you will actually be shocked and amazed to see how well off you can be with this character. She is insanely strong against dive tanks, she is insanely strong against dive DPS characters, and if you are going for stuff like Kiriko Brig, the enemy tracer is gonna have zero chance of killing your backline whatsoever. If you have, for example, Brig Ana, you can protect your Ana from the monkey, you can protect your Ana from the Winston and Doomfist, and the character is just so, again, so cool to play. I recently did a 10-hour challenge on Brig, and honestly, she was one of my favorite supports. You really don't need that much aim, and you have so much more utility to help your team win more team fights, and as a result, games. Next up, we have Moira, and again, this tier list is for players below GM level. So I would put her at bottom of the A tier. She's insanely powerful in medal ranks. She's insanely good even in diamond, and you will quickly realize that you would take her. She's super easy, she's really spammable, you can play her in any comp, pretty much with any character, and I find myself constantly having more damage dealt than my tank, more damage dealt than my DPS, and overall in the lobby, as a Moira player, as a support, I would have so much more damage, simply because of your right click, simply because of your damage orb, and I am going for that awkward playstyle when I am not standing behind my tank and like, oh, what do I do? Do I click my healing orb, or do I heal here? No, I'm just going for a flanking route and trying to distract as many opponents, because this game is not about kills, this game about resources, and if you can go for a flanking route and damage orb and force players out of their favorable position, that's gonna be a W. If you can distract two opponents so they try to chase you and you just fade away, and they are wasting their neuro resource trying to like focus on you, and they lost focus of your teammates, your team is at the big advantage if they can take advantage of that. So Moira is a great character for you. Highly advise you to try her. Make sure that you watch Unranked to GM by Awkward to really sort out all the questions about the playstyle. TLDR, damage, that's exactly what you want to do on this character. The next hero on the list is going to be a Lifeweaver, and even though the Blizzard buffed him tremendously, it is absolutely not enough to bring him from shambles. He is currently sitting in. So last season, he was pretty much the worst character in the game, standing at 40% win rate. Yes, 40%. So for every 100 games you would play, you would lose 60. Yes, your life grip is amazing, and the buff from 20 seconds to 16 is really good, as well as the 50 additional HP healed is really nice, but you still lack utility. You are still very vulnerable to pretty much every single dive tank. You are still vulnerable to pretty much every single dive character. You are a massive target when it comes to people on the ground, and when you're in the air on the pedal platform and you think that you are safe, there is Echo, there is Pharah to absolutely destroy you in that regard. So Blizzard, we are patiently waiting for the next buff. Next up we have Ana, and personally she is my favorite support in the game. I would put her in the middle of S tier. I still feel like you can swap between Kiriko and Ana based on the situation occurred. For example, if you are playing against Junker Queen, you would want to go for the Kiriko, but when you're playing against a character like Doomfist or Wrecking Ball, you would want to prioritize Ana if you don't already have it in your team. She's one of the highest skill ceilings in terms of the support. You really need to consciously think about your positioning. You really need to master your aim if you want to be useful on a character. You really want to understand when to use sleep, when to use anti, and you want to be outputting damage with it. It's really important because most of the time I see Ana players are just going for 1k damage and 10k heals, and they are just hard stuck somewhere in plat, and they are constantly crying about this and that and crying about how their tank is bad. But in order to win games, you need to create scenarios in which your team will win regardless. So imagine you are anti-ing 4 players and then you hit 3 shots onto the enemy Zen, killing him, and then you are hitting 3 shots onto a tank and you are able to finish him off as a result. In comparison with you just using your nade on your own tank and just heal botting him. Just a butterfly effect, right? So make sure that you are, again, watching the Unranked to Gem on Ana by Awkward and trying out this playstyle. Last character for today is going to be Baptiste, and I would like to put him in the middle of A tier. He's stronger than Moira, but I feel like he is less versatile than Zenyatta. You want to take Baptiste in poke comps with stuff like Sigma, with stuff like Hanzo or Cassidy. You want to use your window with your DPS to maximize your potential. This character is really strong on like closed long maps, just like Circuit Royale, Junkertown. He's really strong on Dorado, as you will have the ability to both jump on the high ground as well as heal multiple players with your healing packs. Immortality field is insanely overpowered, and you can save your teammates from pulse bombs, you can save your teammates from inevitable death, and the character is just really fun to play. As well as you can cycle between healing and dealing damage, which is really important. And just like Awkward said again, you want to output as much damage as you possibly can. You want to distract, you want to flank on this character. Support is not a healer. Support is not a heal bot. Most of the time I see Baptiste players are going for 15k heals and 1k damage. This is a disaster and a half for the players who know how to aim, and surely you would not want to do that. Thank you very much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with the list. Subscribe to the channel for more. See you in the next one. Take care.